Hey guys, what's up? And I just got back from Endwar. This is the primary blaster that I used. I finished it at 4 a.m. the night before, so I didn't really get to make a video about it beforehand. However, this is the blaster that I used at Endwar, and it's got a bunch of cool features, so let's just dive right into it. Okay, it's hard to see the LEDs, but they do actually change color. As you saw before, they were green, now they're red. For some reason, it gets stuck on red a lot. The controller is being a bit fickle. I actually, at Endwar, was talking to Hawkeye, and he had a issue with Oculus Dawn's controller. They're two separate ones, however, it might just be because of, cheap controllers. However, after talking with him, I think I'm going to rip this one out and try a different brand one, and hopefully that will work out a bit better. So I would classify this blaster as about 99% done. I have a few small tweaks that I want to make, and then, it'll be finally complete. However, it is fully functioning and, pretty much all the way there. There's a few small touch-ups I want to do, mostly, I'll probably do a 2K clear coat, just because the clear coat I was using wasn't holding up as well as I wanted to. It's a nice matte one, and I think I didn't put enough coats on just because I was rushing towards the end to get it done in time. However, some more clear coat will be necessary, as well as some small touch-ups from scratches from Endwar, and maybe replacing the LED circuit. Starting sort of from front to back, as you saw from the work in progress photos, it is a Longshot Strife integration, very similar to the one I did about a little over a year ago with the silver and blue paint scheme. This one is the 2.0 version. It's much better pretty much in every single way. Actually, in every single way. The integration is much more clean. I learned a lot from doing it the first time, but I think this one is a large improvement, and overall, it's massive performance boost being a 3S LiPo build compared to something that ran on stock voltage. But yeah, so we have the Longshot Strife integration, and then the worker stock back here. I actually made a plate and then did some putty work to fill that gap in, and I'm pretty happy with how that came out. I think the body work turned out really well. I used a lot of epoxy sculpts and just a ton of sanding, but I think the jam door area, from about here to here, where it would have been in the Longshot, came out really cleanly. And just overall, the body work, in my opinion, is a major improvement from my previous one. For a quick side-by-side comparison, I think it's pretty much night and day in terms of how clean this front section is. Moving back a bit further, I have a worker extended mag release that I got from the Tactical Foam giveaway. I decided to keep this scaling, however, instead of sanding it all off, I actually filled it in with putty and then sanded it down smooth, so it still has a fairly defined grip area. Okay, to go over the features of the other side, we have the worker stock, like I mentioned before. I filled out the one side, and then the other side has two removable thumb screws, which then house this plate, which will hold the battery in the stock, which helps balance out the weight, because this is actually a little bit heavier than it looks. I'm not sure where all the weight comes from, to be honest. Moving up forward, the battery is actually stored back here, so we have plenty of room up here. I 3D printed and sanded and painted this battery door cover, although there's not batteries in there now, but it holds the large voltmeter, and then this is the one for the LEDs. Moving a bit forward, we have the 3D printed motor cover. I did this myself. I designed and printed it just to match the aesthetic of the Longshot. We got, as you can see here, the fake bolts to match the fake bolts of the Longshot, and then the slots to match the slots up here. Then when you actually turn on the lights, it does shine through here. So as you can see here, the slots are illuminated, followed by the slots up here, and I think overall it's very aesthetically pleasing. And then last, moving to the front, you can see, the front of the Longshot shell is pretty similar, as well as where, the Recon barrel extension meets it. And I think overall, the aesthetics of the blaster are pretty good. There's a lot of putty work going on this side, mostly all up here, all around the motor cover, up in this area, which actually could be a tad better. And then I actually extended a lot of this by hand to go all the way up here, because normally it ends right about there. So I think overall, the putty work did come out pretty good, and I'm pretty proud of that. This is probably one of the cleanest blasters I've done, and it's one of the only ones without a dry brush paint. So, that's a little bold move for me. Normally when I do integrations, I dry brush it to try to mask where the blasters meet, but I think this one turned out pretty well anyway. Just to go over internals really quick, like I mentioned before, this is a 3S LiPo build. It houses two Hellcat flywheels, a artifact red metal flywheel cage, two worker wheels, and then a 21 amp Omron switch, followed by a 16 gauge rewire. So overall, you know, it's a pretty high performing blaster. We're going to do our chrono testing with 10 brand new E-Kind purple darts. They're pretty cool looking, and they're the waffle head style darts that a lot of people are using now. Plus it matches the paint of the blaster, which is pretty cool. So let's see, we got a high of 178, a low of 118, and an average of 139. So we're actually going to try and redo that set just because there was a high of 178, which is kind of ridiculous and might actually be a bug. So just for the sake of testing, we're going to redo it. Okay, well now let's check. So we got a high of 137, low of 106, and an average of 127, which was right around what it was at Endwar. So yeah, besides the anomaly of that like 178 shot, which I'm not sure if was actually legit, because that seems like super high, so thus retrying, but the average was right around 130, which is perfect for Endwar. That's right around the cap was 130, and I believe when I chronoed there I got an average of 128 over the 3 shots. So pretty consistent throughout. If you're shooting something like a lighter dart, like a Koosh dart, you'll probably get a little more. You'd be in like the 140s approximately, maybe even a little higher, just because it's a 180 setup and you have, you know, lots of torque, and the RPM for the Hellcats is pretty high. Anyway, that's pretty much an overview of my blaster Prism. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please put them in the comment section down below. I'll do my best to answer them. And also a link below for the pictures and whatnot for work in progress. As always, guys, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will hopefully see you guys in a future video.